I'm a filmmaker. I've worked in film, video, and television for over 30 years. I took a little break, but now I'm back. Hello and welcome to another edition of Art Imitates Live with me, Tanya Dixon. Today we have a very special show for you as we're taking a look behind the scenes for one of the legendary R&B groups of the 90s. Lots of big hits, lots of big successes, and some of the scandal that happened behind the scenes. So the R&B group is Dru Hill, and we'll be speaking to Woody Rock, formerly of Dru Hill. So sit back, relax, and we will get it all kicked off in just a few moments. Art Imitates Live with Tanya Dixon is being sponsored by Tandyland Global, bringing your multimedia dreams to life. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our Imitates Live podcast with Tanya Dixon on both Podbean and on YouTube. Welcome back to Art Imitates Live, and as promised, we were going to have a member from one of the legendary R&B groups. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome to Art Imitates Live, Woody Rock, formerly of the group Dru Hill. How you doing, Woody?
Yeah, I'm good. And you?
I'm great. Glad to be here. Glad to have you here. You know, I love to, I love to just talk to you, but you all have so much history. And the thing that's so crazy, I have interviewed you 2 times before in the past, and this was just way back when you were with the group. And both of the times, one time I was at the Atrium here in Atlanta, and the other time, you remember the Atrium? Mm-hmm. And the other time, I felt so bad for you all because the record label had you all clenched up it was at Billboard, and you all were in a room. They put you in a room, and they made you do interview after interview after interview.
Yeah, that's how it used to work.
Yeah, and y'all were just delirious by the time I was talking to us. I was like, poor thing.
Oh man, like out of it. That's why we don't remember so much, because so much of the time that we spent out there on the road and stuff like that was just like that.
Oh,
to the point where it's just like everything ran into everything else, and everybody ran into everybody else. Like the only way that I normally remember, like people had pictures, and I'm like, oh yeah, that is me. So I was there. You're not lying. You know?
I know it had to be a blur because as I was watching it, and I remember you all were so tired, so you were getting delirious, and you started laughing a lot. Mm-hmm. And I said, they're just tired. You know, and I said, it has to be a blur if you're continuing to do this at different press junkets over and over and over again. But you all had the hits, and everybody wanted to speak to you. So,
Yeah, that's the way you get out there, talking to people and performing for people and shaking
right.
hands and kissing babies. It's like politicians for real.
That's right. Well, I want to talk about this because I know we talked about this in the past, but for my audience here, with Art Imitates Life, because I had a show called Sounds of Soul at the time. And for
Okay.
my Art Imitates Life audience, please tell us how you actually got into the group, how Dru Hill was formed, and just kind of take it from there and we'll move forward.
Okay. I actually started singing around my high school, which was called Baltimore City College in Baltimore. And it just like was like a snowball effect. Like I started singing and it was me and my buddy Bravett and my buddy Chris and another guy named Damien who danced on a show that we had, like a local show here called Shakedown. And we used to sing down at the bottom of the school every day. And then one day, Cisco, I knew him from middle school. He and I went to the same middle school. So he had a wood shop class. He didn't go to my school, but he took a shop class at my school. So after school, he was just coming through the basement where we were practicing, and he heard us singing. And he asked if I mind if he joined in. So I said, no, come on, because I knew him, but I didn't know he could sing. He didn't. Neither one of us knew that other one of us were singers because he used to dance. He was famous for dancing in middle school. Like, matter of fact, he danced with the principal at our senior farewell. Like, he was freak dancing with the principal. So he's known as a dancer. I used to
Okay.
rap and I used to draw. So it's like we knew each other from those things. So we were both shocked that each other could sing. So we got to singing together. And at first, out of the group that everybody knows, it was just me and him every day singing. And then one day, Nokia had got one of his friends, which was my buddy Bravett, to bring him to one of the practices. And he started singing with us on a regular basis. And for a while, it was like six of us that used to meet up every day after school and sing. And Nokia ended up like transferring schools. And when he transferred schools, that's when he ran into jazz. And that's how we got the original four that we had. Then my mom took me out of the group when she
Huh.
found out about it because we weren't singing gospel music.
Oh,
So
wow.
she took me out of the group and they went on and won Showtime at the Apollo, not Showtime at the Apollo, but like Amateur Night at the Apollo, and did a whole bunch of stuff, got a record deal without me and everything. But the record deal like kind of fell through because it was like something called a developmental deal. Whereas though they know they want you, but they don't know what they want to do with you, like as far as image and stuff. Basically, they just sign you so that they can make sure that nobody else gets you because they know that you're good, but they don't know exactly what direction they want to take you in. So after years and years of that, they got tired of being in that deal and we graduated from high school. So my mom, the reason that she would always give them, I knew the reason why she didn't want me to sing because we weren't singing gospel music. She would
Right.
always give me the reason that you're not doing good in school because like I was genius up until high school, but once I found out that I could sing and singing became my passion, I pretty much didn't care about school anymore. So my
Okay.
grades and stuff suffered. So because of that, she was like, as long as you're not doing good in school, you ain't singing with that group. So I graduated from school. So she
Okay.
couldn't say that, and they was like, all right, you out of school now. You think your mom will let you come back? Because one of the guys, Chris, who was one of the original guys along with me when I first started,
Uh-huh.
he went away to college. And I
Okay.
think he's like working for NASA or something now. He's super smart.
Oh,
So
okay.
it was a space open again and they wanted me to come back. So I finally talked to my mom and asked her if we asked my pastor at the time. And if he said it was okay, could I come back and join the group? And his son was actually a jazz musician over in France. So he said that he didn't see anything wrong with it as long as I didn't let the business change me and who I was and change my beliefs and things of that nature. So
Okay.
with that being said, my mom allowed me to go ahead and sing with him. So once we got back together, we sung probably for like, we were a gospel group for a while at first. So my mom would let me sing with us, would let me sing with them. And then the guy who had initially got them to the first deal asked us if we would try R&B one more time. So once we told him yes, we auditioned for Interscope Records first. He set that up and they were interested, but they already had Blackstreet. They had like a lot of stuff with Casey and JoJo working on projects over there through Death Row and everything like that. So it's like they had a lot on their hands already. So
Okay.
then he asked us to go and try out at a label called Island Black Music, which was like a kind of new label, and they had like 2 soundtracks out. And we went to audition for them, and they immediately put us on the next soundtrack. Like they kept us there that same night. We recorded the song, which was "Tell Me," and we ended up signing to them and being like they said we kept the lights on there. We were like their flagship artists because a
Wow.
lot of the soundtracks they were bringing in artists that were already signed other places, just getting them to do one song or whatever for a soundtrack. But as
Okay.
far as their own artists and being their own group that was exclusively signed to them, we became like their pet project that like everybody at the label put all their energy and focus behind us.
Okay. As you're talking, all this is kind of coming back to me because as you started talking about your mom, and I do remember like the back and forth about actually getting the solid four. And then I remember too about what you're talking about Island Records. And so, yeah, I do remember a lot. And I just wanted to bring out a couple things, as we talk
Sure.
when it comes to record labels. I think there's a lot of young people out there who are starting now and they want to know how to get in. They want to know what to do. They may not understand what you mean by development deals and all that. And
Mm-hmm.
kind of explain to them, what happens sometimes with people in development deals that sometimes they might get on the shelf and never get off and all that. Kind of explain a little bit to our audience, a little for the people who really are aspiring to be a part of a record label.
Oh yeah, like with development deals, I've seen it happen, which is exactly what you said. I've seen that happen with another group that was from here in Baltimore, and they were super talented. And this is not fact, but this is my personal belief. Sometimes a label, if they see an artist or an act that could be competition
There you
for
go.
somebody that they already have out, like they might have a look that's similar to theirs, or a look that might be a little better, their musical talent like might be a little better or whatever, they will sign you and make you sit on the shelf just so you won't be able to get signed somewhere else and compete with their artists that they have at the time. And
That's
that's what I believe
exactly,
to my
yes.
buddies. Yeah.
That's exactly where I wanted you to go
Mhm.
because people have to understand that once you even get the attention of a label, it does
Mhm.
not mean that your name will be in lights.
Oh
They
no,
may have
indeed.
another reason for signing you.
Mhm. That's the truth. I've
Okay.
seen it happen far too many times. I have family members in groups from here because Baltimore, like I remember the comedian Samore. She was
Yes.
on the radio here one time and she was like, "Man, in Baltimore is so talented, even they junkies can sing." And that's true. Like everybody here has some type of talent. Like if it's not singing, it might be dancing, it might be rapping, or some people. We got people that's famous for riding dirt bikes, motorcycles, and stuff here. Like you name it, we got
Right.
so much talent here. So it's like people will hear these people or see these people or whatever and be gung ho about signing them, or somebody will come to you like it's nothing for one of your friends or family to come to you like, boy, such and such a record's looking for me, or this label came down and checked me out and stuff like that. But then a lot of times you don't hear anything else about it, and a lot of times it's because of political reasons. It's not because their talent is not up to par. It's they weren't willing to do this thing or that thing, or they saw their attitude and they might come across a little too, like hood or whatever, and might scare some of the label executives. All
Right. We're gonna that this part of the conversation we're gonna talk about again because there are
mm-hmm,
some things towards the end of the conversation that I'm gonna bring up because down the line I want to have a
mm-hmm.
conversation with you again because we know some things in the industry is about to blow apart
Oh
in
yeah.
about 5 minutes. It's gonna go
Mm-hmm,
down. But
mm-hmm.
I want to talk about what the point when you all as a group knew that your success was coming. Was it the success of Tell Me, or was there another point in there where you kind of said, okay, I think that this is going to go somewhere now for real?
And coming from here, whereas though there were other acts who had made it, but it had been such a gap in between the time that those acts had come along and
Right.
for us coming along, we didn't really have a barometer. Like the only time that we really knew anything was when we met Boys to Men for the first time at the Impact Music Conference, like the year that we
Right.
came out.
Okay.
And the advice that those guys gave us, it was Sean and I want to say Nathan. It was two of them. Yeah, it was Sean and Nathan. And the advice that those guys gave us, me and Cisco were just looking at each other like, dang, where were they at like 2 weeks ago? Because all the stuff that they was telling us not to do was stuff
Right.
that we had already did out of not knowing any better. But
Okay.
like I said that to say, like, we didn't know we thought anything was success, to be totally honest, because it's like we had never seen anybody from Baltimore in our time, because like the last people that everybody was telling us about was like Billie Holiday and a group called the Whatnots and a group called the Ink Spots that was from
Okay.
here. We didn't know any of those guys. Like Casey and JoJo from Jodeci spent time in Baltimore, but they
Right.
when they came out, it was from out of North Carolina. So
Okay.
Montez had access to them. He was friends with them from the days when they all used to sing gospel music, but the rest of us didn't have them where so we could call them up and talk about anything. But like for us, being from Baltimore and just being on TV, like from Tell Me, we thought
Right.
we had made it from that point. You know, like
Okay.
and we on TV every time we come home, we get mobbed. We go to Mondawmin. I remember me personally
Uh-huh.
getting put out of Mondawmin, and they said I was accused. What they call me, like starting a riot, inciting a riot. And all I was trying to do was go in there and get me some tennis shoes for real.
Okay. I know that you were saying that you were able to talk to other groups like Boys to Men and all. Was there a time in there when you really, you all in the group, you were starting to look at what was happening in the industry and starting to look at what was happening even with other groups, and you started to wonder a little bit more about what was going to be the status of your own group, because some groups, they hit different times where they either break up or they lose a member, like what happened with Boys and Men, having Mike leave and everything that they went through. Just overall, what were some of the things that you saw that made you kind of wonder about the future, even before things started to, break apart?
And for the first thing for me, the first like red flag
Uh,
was, us and 112 came out at the same time.
hmm,
And we tended to be a group who was like it was certain members, but then when we would vote, then I would be the only person raising my hand to say something different. Everybody else might go, they might not want to do it, but they just go along with it. But we tended to be a group that spent a lot of money on our show. Like the money that we made, we would basically give back to making sure that it was a good show. So like things like a live band, things like moving props and dancers and stuff like that. Like from our first tour, from the first time we ever came out, we were doing that. And I thought nothing of it at first, but when I saw one of the members of 112, because we, when you brand new, you all do shows together, like the radio
right,
shows and the free show. The shows is basically for publicity where you don't get paid for them, but it's a big audience and everybody sees you.
hmm,
So we were running the 112 like all the time. Like they were like cousins. We wasn't our brothers because we ain't see them all the time, but they was like our cousins. So we always run up. And whenever you got good news, you want to show, each other your good news or something you got going
right,
on good. And I
right.
remember, I think it was Q walked up to me and he had a picture. He's like, "You want to see my new car?" And I'm like, "Hold up. Last week, me and Cisco had to borrow his family car to go to the club, and the car broke down in the middle of the street, and we was both pushing like with a single out. We pushing the car up a hill, and he telling me, "Yo, don't wave at him." People, everybody notices they was beeping their horns and waving and stuff. "Yo, don't wave at him. Yo, don't wave at him." But this guy got a brand new car, brand new Benz or whatever. So I'm like, "Hold up." We came out
Right,
around the same time. We
right.
selling about the same amount of units because I remember when they first single went gold, and I remember when our first single went gold. So we selling about the same amount of records. How is it that they getting cars and stuff like that, and we don't have nothing? You see what I'm saying? So
Right.
it's like me and I go ahead and take the blame. I was the person who was the first to lead the group, so it's like that was basically the beginning of that, because
Okay.
that's what started me asking questions like, why is it that this group is come out at the same time as us, have about the same amount of success as us, but they able to do these things and we are not. And then when I found out it was because of decisions that we were making, then I was always trying to push other members to side with me when I say we don't want to spend this money on this stuff. We want our money. But it was always like it was two and two. Two wanted to do it that way, and me and another member weren't necessarily going on board with that, but
Right.
I was the only one that was willing to speak out. The other
I
member
think
would always be like, "I just want to sing, yo, I don't care."
Man, well, I think what it is and what you learned and what I've talked to different groups about in the past because I've managed acts before, and I've
Mm-hmm.
told them that music is a business, and that's the part where folks don't get that side of it. That every money that is spent, that's your money that you are spending. You know
Right.
that this little loan and all that they're giving you, they're not telling you at the beginning. They make it look like you're going to be this big star, you're going to be making a whole lot of money. It's no, you got this loan. it's like
Right.
it's like a bank. You got a
Right.
loan. You paying it off. You know,
Right.
they're not getting that part of it. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and how much folks go through. So I guess that was one of the questions I really wanted to know about where you saw that going. What is it that really got to a point where you said you were the first to leave the group? Am I correct?
Mm-hmm.
What got you to that point where you say it was time to go? And
It
you all have
was.
had many successes before that. Before we do that, before we say that, name off some of the singles again that you all had that were just astronomical. You had some really big singles.
Yeah, we had Tell Me, we
Hmm.
had In My Bed, Never Make a Promise,
Yeah,
5 Steps, and that was all off the first album. Then the
right.
second album we had How Deep Is Your Love from the Rush Hour soundtrack. We had what else was on that second album? Beauty that everybody loves.
Right.
Yeah, and then I think that was pretty much it off of those albums. But like we got 5 Billboard Awards, we got Soul Train Awards, we got nominated for American Music, and Boys to Men won. And they on stage said to the crowd like this, we feel like this was Dru Hill year, so we dedicate this award to them. They said that, and
And
we
you,
weren't expecting that, but they actually said that straight from the stage that night. So
wow.
we
And
had
see, I
a
wanted you to do that because in the final analysis, like here on YouTube, they don't like us to show other people's music and stuff like that. So I'm very careful about that. My dog is just walking around everywhere. I was letting him do his thing. It's not time yet, buddy. It's not time yet. He's ready to eat. But
yeah.
I just I like for people to kind of give the idea of what their music was like because sometimes I'll try to put something out there so that people can see and look back for those people who might be a little younger and might not know the success of a group like Dru Hill. Look it up,
Right.
folks.
Mm-hmm.
DRU and then HILL, Dru Hill. Look it up. So with that in mind, like I was mentioning just now, what is it that made you say, I'm done. I need to exit, the group.
It was a lot of what I was saying. Like, but we were making like you ever seen the movie Cadillac Records,
Yes.
and where they were talking about this is gonna make him rich and you famous.
Right.
It
Right.
was a lot of
Right.
got tired of being quote unquote famous, but didn't have the money to show for it. Like I would always say, it was a time where we had a turmoil with the record label. And if anybody saw the unsung, a lot of the stuff on the unsung was doctored and twisted, but that part of it was actually did happen. Like we
Okay.
did have a skirmish with the label head or whatever. And out of that, we got a lawsuit.
Okay.
But the money, like you said, was recoupable against us. So it's like even when we sold records, like everybody else made more money than us. Like we had our lawyer was attacked and got into a physical with the hit label head and the president of one label because we were signed to like what's it called when you get a label deal, like the label gets a deal and we were signed to one label and then signed to the bigger label.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
the head of
Subsidiary.
right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Head of the smaller label was like got into it and the lawyer got into it. So out of that,
Island was under Interscope. Am I correct?
no, Island
Was
was
Island
under Universal.
in
No, not
Universal?
Universal. Yeah, in the same building with Def Jam and them.
Okay, because I had to remember that New Island was under a subsidiary, but
Yeah,
I
it
just could not
ended up
remember.
Def Jam, but it was Island Black Music that was just under Island.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
all Universal. Mm-hmm.
Right, right. Couldn't
Right.
remember. It was
Mm-hmm.
many days of dealing with labels. I could not remember.
Sure.
So I understand what you're saying. This person here is going to be rich. This one's going to be famous. And
Right.
from there, I saw Cisco breaking out doing some things. Were
Yeah, that
you
was
all broken up by then?
Yeah, that was after I left, and then that was a whole other big thing. But like, what made me leave was the fact that first of all, not making the money that everybody thought we had,
Right.
or nowhere near it. And then it's like the fact the money that we did make, like I said, went all back to shows and stuff like that. So I kind of got tired of that, and it was no, I would ask questions. And it was no end to it in sight because whenever I would complain about it, it's like, this the price you got to pay. We want to be like Earth, Wind, and Fire so we can go out forever and give them a show. I say, man, I don't want to be there and still singing. No disrespect to them. I love all the
Right.
groups that went before us, but I'm like, I'm trying to be in and out. I
Right.
got a retirement plan in here. I don't know about nobody else, but I'm trying to be in and out. So when I heard that, and then I ain't have no answer with the when we was going to start really making some money. And
Right.
then number two, the way that our group was set up, it was three of us were really singers, like three church boys that
Okay.
was singers. And then you had one guy who wasn't necessarily a singer, but he was more, like he was more involved on the production side and stuff like that. And
Okay.
he had things that he brought to the table or whatever. But it
Okay.
was like always me that was asked to take a back seat on something so it didn't make somebody else look bad. Like for instance, like when we first came out, three of us were like fairly in shape,
Hmm.
and then it was one guy that was a little heavier than the other three of us.
Right.
So the other two would always take their shirts off, and then they'd tell me I was in shape too. It's like, nah, yo, somebody got to keep their shirt on with Big Man so he don't look bad. I'm like, why can't we take turns? Why it gotta be me every time? I want to show my abs too. And then when it came to singing, they was like, well, if you sing, if me and him sing, me and Big Man singing, and then the guy who don't really sing, then people gonna wonder what he here for if you sing. So you gotta not sing in order to make him look good. So I always
Wow.
had to take the back burner to make somebody else look
Yeah.
good. But then when it come to my shortcoming, I'm not a dancer. So when I asked, could we do less dancing or something, it was never nothing we could do about that. Oh, nah, you just gonna have to spend extra hours with the choreographer or something. I say, man, let me get a cane like Mike. Nobody know me. I could say something wrong with my leg. Like, saying I could do that. No, we can't do that. You got to dance. So there's no way around to help with my shortcoming, but everybody else has always had to help with. So I kind of
Wow.
got sick of that and
Hmm.
just being homesick, wanting to be home with my family and things of that nature. I was just like, it's just not for me. Like, you look at something on television and
Right.
you don't have all the inside scoop about what's really going on behind the scenes. So once you see it, you're like, this is not for me for real. Like, no disrespect to them, and I wish them the best, but I just wanted to make a clean break. Like, I actually asked to leave the day before we got signed. And the guy
Wow.
who signed us asked me to stay because he said it looks bad if I bring four guys up and only three sign up. So can you please stay so that it don't mess it up for everybody else? So I actually gave it way longer than I intended to. I stayed from 96 to 99 when I first left. And that
Right.
was 2 years, and he only asked me to stay for as long as through when they signed the deal. So I feel like I already gave above and
Right.
beyond at that point.
Mm.
Yeah.
With that
Stay
being
tuned for previews for part 2 of the interview with Woody Rock.
when you did leave, how was that transition?
We hope that you have enjoyed this episode of Art Imitates Live with Tanya Dixon, so be sure to like and subscribe. And also check us out on all of our other social media. Coming up on part 2 of Art Imitates Life, featuring Woody Rock, formerly of Dru Hill.
Looked up to real heavy, so it's like he's singing with them, and I thought that they were gonna go on the Breakfast Club and talk about the new projects and stuff they working on. They didn't mention one word. Like they had a new single out and everything. The The whole interview is about me. And about how I called him so aggressively and all this stuff and what he this and what he that, like every other word. Like I'm exaggerating a little bit, like the whole interview wasn't about me. Like later on, looking back in hindsight, you know they say hindsight is 20/20. I'm looking at it now, I was like, oh, they some dirty duds, man. They dirty. It's like when we first came to the label, our name was called Legacy. And it stood for letting every generation encourage the coming youth. It's a positive name. They basically made us change our name. They said somebody else had that name.